In this video, I'm turning this into this. Ever since I bought my Super73 S2, I've wanted to hook up some LED lights for some better nighttime visibility. So I started looking around online and I came up with a little kit that I'm going to put together and install on this bike. But first, let me show you what I've picked out and what you might need to do the same thing. So from Amazon, I picked up the GoV motorcycle LED lights kit. I'm going to have a link to this in the description below where you can pick one up as well. This is for a 12-volt battery. So if you plan on doing this, make sure you have a 12-volt connection on your Super73. So like the S2, the R, and the RX. And because of that, we will also need some HIGO 3-pin connectors. You'll know they're 3-pin because of the yellow connection point there. We're actually going to have to splice these together as well as connect one of the ends to the motorcycle LED kit. Now again, I'll have links to these in the description below where you can pick these up on Amazon. Now because we're going to be doing some electrical work, I have some wire cutters and stripper and a soldering iron with some solder, of course, and a butane torch with some heat shrink tubing that will actually help protect the wires as we solder them together. So the first step is going to be to connect these HIGO wires, and I'm going to show you how to do that. The first thing I'm going to do is create the splitter out of these two HIGO extension cords. Again, these are 3-pin and you have a female end and a male end. First of all, I'm going to find the middle here just so I know that I have enough space, and just clip one right in half. There we go. The deed is done. And I'm going to take this male end and actually set it aside because this is the end that we're going to connect to our lights that attach to the bike. Now I have this end here, and let's take a look at what it consists of. So I'm going to go ahead and strip this wire, see if a 12 gauge will do it, and now it's stripped. So you'll see that we have 3 wires. You have your positive, your negative, and then I guess the blue one hooks to the brake light. So let's get these connected. So while I have this wire torn apart, I'm actually going to stick my heat shrink tube over the wire. That way I don't forget it. This will come in handy later. You just slide this down. I probably won't need this much, but I'm going to use it just in case. So we have that wire taken care of. Going to set it aside. Now we're going to snip our other wire, and this one we will turn into the Y connector. Okay, so for our Y connector, we want 2 female ends and 1 male end. We need to strip each one of these individual wires as well. Not recommended, but I was actually able to do it with my teeth, so you can see we have a bunch of new little wires exposed. Again, it's very important to have your female ends facing one direction and your male end facing the opposite direction, so it's going to be a Y like this. And I have these smaller tubes, and I'm going to put those on the individual connections. Now I'm going to want to make sure I have plenty to cover all the exposed wires here, because we're actually going to be soldering them together. Now while I wait for the soldering iron to heat up, I'm going to take my first set of wires and wrap them to get a nice bond. So I'm soldering the female ends together first. So my soldering iron is heated up. I have the different wires isolated here. We have red, blue, and black, and we are ready to solder. You will see that I am not an expert at soldering. All right. So got the red connected there. Let's try to go for the blue now. It's not the prettiest job, but it's gonna work for me. We'll work on the male end. So I have my heat shrink tube here, but I also need to add individual heat shrink tubes to these individual wires. With my heat shrink tubing in place, it's time to connect these wires. So make sure your solder is nice and cool. Isolate your wires, and I'm going to wrap the red wire around the red wire, and we'll start with that. Okay, so the soldering's done. It's not that great, but it does the job. So even though I heat shrunk the wires, I did hit it with a little bit of electrical tape just to be extra cautious. Now I'm going to slide this one over, and it is going to be a very tight fit. So it doesn't look the cleanest, but I used a combination of heat shrink and electrical tape just so I can get that Y. There we go. We have a Hygo Y connection with 3 pins. The next step is going to be to attach this male end to the lights that we're going to be hooking to the bike. They actually make it pretty obvious with blue, black, and red. So we got to strip this wire, strip these wires, get them soldered together, and we should be good. Okay, that took a little bit longer than I thought as far as making the Y connector and hooking the male end to the lights. But if all works as it should, this end should connect to my new light setup. This end should connect to the stock headlight, and then this end should connect to the controller. So make sure your battery is turned off, and you're going to want to locate your 3-pin Hygo connection. This one connects right to the headlight here. So you'll go ahead and pop that off. Luckily it is nice and secure. Now we're going to take this end from our Y splitter, find the arrows, and they line up, and you plug that in. It's a nice waterproof connection. And then you take your other connection. This is going to attach the lights to the controller. Okay, so in theory, we got our lights coming off of here, off of this Y. We have our headlight coming off of this Y, and then off of the stem we have our 3-pin connector going to the controller. And now it's the moment of truth. I'm gonna turn on my battery, and we're going to turn on the headlights, and look at that. We got our headlights working, and we got our bike lights. Now the creative part comes, because we got to figure out where each one of those LEDs are going to go. But let me show you something cool. If this works, you have the ability to turn the lights on and off with this switch. So even though the lights are off, you have your headlight running. So you don't always have to have these lights going while your headlight is on. So that's a pretty cool feature. So the lights work, great news. Again, now I'm gonna have to get creative on where I'm going to put them. I have a few ideas. As you can see, I have my bike flipped over. I think that's gonna be the easiest way to work on it. And I have it flipped over courtesy of handlebar jack. If you haven't seen my video on the handlebar jack, it is an accessory that you need for your bike. So if you get anything out of this video, be sure to check out handlebar jack. It makes working on your bike upside down, especially your e-bike, a lot easier. The lights come with an adhesive back, as well as some zip ties for cable management. But before we start sticking the lights to the areas where I want to, like here and the fender, I want to make sure that those surfaces are clean. You'll see that the lights come in kind of a Y shape. I'm assuming one for the front, one for the back. That's how I'm going to treat it anyway. But on each set you have a short one, 2 medium-sized ones, and 1 long one. So again, gonna get creative. You can disconnect each light from the main wire source pretty easy, so you can attach it and then reconnect it. I think I have a general idea of where I want to put them. I want 2 lights under the fender, 1 light under the seat, a small light down below that's hitting the ground. Then up front, I want a small light under the front fender, and then 2 lights along this panel here, And then I don't know what to do with the extra long light. However, you can swap these out. So I could put 2 long lights under the longer fender and then do some medium lights somewhere else. So you don't have to keep them in the same order that they come packaged. So I might do the longer lights under this fender here. So I have the bike powered up, the headlights turned on, and boom, there's no way anybody's gonna miss me out riding around at night. Look at this thing. Now it doesn't just glow red, it comes with a little remote that if you push the buttons, it's supposed to change colors. That's not quite happening right now. So I gotta take a look at the manual and see what that's all about. All right, so it is now midnight. I've been working way too long on this thing, but I think I have it all set up. In fact, I got the remote to work. So I can switch through a bunch of different color modes. There's actually 18 different colors to choose from. So you can switch through all these colors, and then once you hit the end, you get disco mode, or this fade in and out. Now another cool feature is you can turn on some flashing, or you can fade in and out the color that you're on. And the last feature I want to show you using the remote is that you can actually have the lights respond to music. So let's see if I can get this to work. So it actually flashes to any sound really, but if I had a speaker close by, then it would play the lights to the beat of the music. So I can't play any popular music or else YouTube will obviously ding me, but yeah, you get the idea. So what actually took the longest was the cable management. It's going to be a little bit hard to see in this low light, but I ended up using my Rock Bros bag to house a lot of the different components in here. I think it cleaned up pretty nicely. This is the unit that responds to sound, so there's that. So I could put a little speaker in there and play some music. Anyway, I ran the cables along the frame, down behind the struts, and just anywhere other cables are. So I have a light up in here, a light in the fender there, and even a light down below. So I just kind of ran those cables that way so I didn't get too clunky. I don't love this mess right here, but it works. And I don't know what to do with this thing. This switch is what turns the lights on and off that way too. So if you don't want to run up the battery, I might just keep it in here. Again, cable management, just kind of ran them all where other cables already are. I do have a surprise coming very soon. I have a second battery coming from Shy Battery Systems, and that will probably be one of my next videos. So it's going to come right in time to power this crazy light setup. It shouldn't be too taxing on the battery with them being LEDs, but we'll see. Well, what do you think? Hooking LED lights up to the Super73 S2. Again, this only works with Super 73s or electric bikes that have a 12-volt system to power lights. If you're interested in something like this, I have linked them down below in the description. Hopefully I gave you enough instructions on how to set this up yourself. Be sure to check those links down below, as well as a link for the handlebar jack. That's that little tool I use to flip over my bike and work on it without screwing up any of the components on the handlebars. That's something that you should always have in your gear bag. And of course, if you want a Super 73, there is a super special link down below. I'll also put it along the screen here, and you can get $100 off your first purchase of a Super 73. So be sure to check that out. You can see how much fun I'm having with mine. Anyway, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you think you'll do something like this? If you are, then hopefully my instructions work. If not, what are some other modifications you've made to your Super 73 or other e-bike? And while you're down there, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe button, because I'm gonna have a ton more content coming up that I can't wait to show you. Anyway, thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.